Hello, image design students. This is Mrs. Brown. And this video, I will be showing you how to complete the Unit 5 graded assignment. Remember, to be able to complete your image design assignments, you must have the GIMP program downloaded to your computer and installed, and the course resources. If you have not done that, you need to come to the Help Assignment Help Videos unit. Go to where it says download GIMP and course resources and use this video to help you download both GIMP and the course resources. So to begin the Unit 5 project, we're going to go ahead and review where this information is coming from. So if you click in Unit 5, the first half of your assignment you actually complete while you go through your reading lessons. So as you go through your reading lessons, you'll come to pages that say, getting started. And this tells you where to open up an image and what to save the project as. And as you go through your reading, there will be directions. These directions are the assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the assignment right now. So the first thing we need to do is open up GIMP. And once we have GIMP opened, we will then open an image, any image from our Unit 5 folder of our course resources. So you'll want to go to where you have your image design folder saved on your computer, whether it's your desktop, your documents, wherever you have it saved. Go to your course resource images, go to Unit 5, and we're going to open up any image. There's a pig, a cell phone, a pumpkin, a polar bear, a brain. It doesn't matter what you choose, you decide. And I'm going to go ahead and start with our polar bear. First things first, we always want to save our image. When you're working on your GIMP project, saving is so important. You don't want to lose the work that you've done. So it does tell us to save it as traced photo. Now I already have an image traced photo in my folder. I'm going to go ahead and save over it. You will just save a new traced photo. All right, so now that we have it saved, we're ready to begin. The first thing we're going to do in this unit is you're learning how to add and work with layers. This is important because you're going to be using layers in every single assignment. So to add a layer in the top menu bar up here, we're going to use the layer window and we're going to click new layer. Here we're going to name our layer, and the layer here that we're going to name is outline, or just line. Line, we want to make sure that our layer is set to transparency. So if you have it set to any of these other options, make sure you have it set to transparency and then go click OK. When I click OK, notice over here what happens. We have a new layer up here in our layers. This is our layers doc. Okay, so if you don't have those white papers selected, you want to select them and you'll be able to see your layers. If your line layer is below your original image layer, you're going to use these green arrows to make sure that your line layer is on top. All right, so we've got our first layer created. Now we're going to start using our paintbrush tool. So over in our toolbox, remember if you hover over the tool, it'll tell you the name. We're going to select our paintbrush tool. Now in the bottom window, you have your brushes, patterns, and gradients. We're going to be working with the brushes tab. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click the configure this tab button. See that right there? And we're going to change this to view as list. This allows us to easily see the options we have for brushes and the names of the brushes. Here we're going to select our Pixel 3x3 brush. You can see the name there. This is where we're going to select our brush. And then over to the left, we're going to go to our Tool Options tab, and we're going to change the size of this brush right down here to 5. This will adjust the brush's size to an appropriate size for drawing an outline. Okay, so the next step in the toolbox, up here's our toolbox, we're going to click the Reset Foreground and Background Color buttons to make sure the foreground color is set to black. So to do that, you're simply going to click right on these boxes, black and white boxes that are on top of each other. And the black is on top, which tells us that the foreground color is set to black. The background is white, the foreground is black. And that tells us that our brush color is black. All right, now we're ready to start tracing the photo. So now this is a skill that you're going to get better at as you practice. Mrs. Brown will not grade for perfection. Do your best at outlining your image. And just remember, Mrs. Brown's not going to grade for perfection. So we're simply going to click with our mouse. Your mouse is your paintbrush. Click and hold, and you're going to drag to outline the image. See, it's kind of tricky with that mouse of the polar bear. Now, one thing you want to make sure, I'm actually going to undo that to make sure you're on your line layer. Make sure you're on your line layer. If you're on your image layer, you're not tracing that layer, the outline on the correct layer. You must be on that line layer. I hate when I get assignments and I have to say, I'm so sorry, but I can't give you credit for that. It's not on the correct layer. Part of the grading is making sure that you understand how to work on the correct layer. Make sure you have this line layer selected, it's highlighted in blue, before you begin tracing. So a tip, if you hold your control key in and zoom in, some students like to trace with it zoomed in. Just gives them a little something more to look at. So you're literally going to just trace, around the outline of your image. Notice Mrs. Brown's is not perfect. I'm not grading you for perfection. It's tricky with your mouse to get that. There are tools you can use. I'm going to come back and erase that you can use like an actual pen. But for our class, we just have our mouse, unless you have something fancy at home. We're just going to trace around. So if you're doing the pumpkin, you'll trace around the pumpkin. If you're doing the brain, you'll trace around the brain, etc. So whatever image you've chosen, you'll trace around the outline of the image. All right. So there I have my rough outline. I'm going to actually use my eraser here, my eraser tool, and I'm going to come down to where I kind of did that. If you have anything you want to erase, you can. Okay, and then I'm going to click back to my paintbrush tool, which we're working with, and then I'm going to zoom to fit my image back to my window. And there I have my outline of my polar bear. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to continue working with our Pixel 3x3 brush. But I'm going to change the size of my brush smaller to add some detail. So I'm going to color in the eyes of the polar bear. And I'm going to go around the nose. It's a little harder to see because it's black, but we'll see it here in a second. I'll go on the inside of my ears. So whatever image you have, you'll choose the detail that you want to add. You can get as detailed as you want. For sake of time in this video, I'm just going to show you some options and not really finish up the detail, but you can get as detailed as you want in providing, whoops, that one's not all that great, some detail in your image. Okay, so use a smaller brush to add detail. So you should have an outline and detail using two different brush sizes. So once we're finished outlining our image, we're going to add another layer. So we're going to come back up to our layer menu and click New Layer. We're going to name this layer Color. We want this layer to also be set to transparency. We'll go ahead and click OK. Notice over in your Layers tab that another layer will appear. Now we want this layer tab, this color layer to be below the line layer. So I'm going to select my color layer and use this green down arrow to move it below. So your layers should be in the following order: line, color, and then your original image. Now we're going to be working on the color layer, so make sure you have that color layer selected. We don't want to be adding color to the line layer. We want to be adding color to the color layer. Be sure you're on the correct layer. Okay, now we're going to change the color of our brush. We're going to continue working with our Pixel 3x3. We're still going to be working with our paintbrush tool, but now we're going to change the color of our brush. So using this foreground color button, we're going to just click this black window. And there are many different ways you can select a color. It depends on how you like it. Some students like to use this color wheel. However you want to use it, okay, to choose a new color. So I'm going to, you can see the current color by selecting right here. So whatever color you want, if you want blue, add blue, green, whatever you decide is fine. If you prefer this color wheel, some people prefer this to choose a color, you can use that. I'll go ahead and do green today. So once you have a color chosen, we're now going to fill in the outline of our image with color. So to start this, I'm going to put my brush size at about, I think I'll do 10. And I'm going to, what I like to do is I like to go around, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, it'll make it a little bit easier. Just the interior of the outline, and you'll see why in just a second. Oops, and if you go out of the lines, you can come back and correct that. Not a big deal. That's the cool thing with using this program is you can correct lots of your mistakes. Now I can go right through that, and because it's on a different layer, it's just fine. Okay, so this takes a little bit of time to get that outside layer. I'm actually going to bump my brush up just a bit. depending, be careful because this will get big, but depending on what image you have will probably determine the brush size that you want to use. Play around with it. My side here. Okay, so now once we have the outline all finished, I'm going to click View, Zoom, or I'm back to 100% or Fit to Window. And now I can really bump up my brush size to fill in the middle of this outline. And if the bigger your brush is, once you have that outline, you can fill in the color rather fast. All right, so notice now my polar bear is all filled in. And now you can come to your eraser. You're going to want to bump this brush size way down to do your eraser. If you had a huge eraser, you're going to be erasing a lot more. And I can get really detailed and get rid of this outer green that I went outside the lines with. Down here a bit. And it's only going to remove the color. It will not remove any of my outline. Okay, so there you have it. We're done filling in the outline's color. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hide the original layer. So when working with layers, you can select different layers. You can hide layers using the eye icon. If we remove the original image, notice we have just our outline and our color. If we wanted to only work back with our outline, our line, yes, with our outline layer, we could hide the color layer to go back and add more detail. So you can hide and unhide these layers as necessary. Okay. Our last step, we're going to add one more layer. We're going to click Layer, New Layer, and here we're going to type Color Background. We want this one transparency as well. Notice the color background layer is on top. We want this one to be third. So we're going to bump it down so that our layers are in the order line, color, color background, and image. Here, we're going to select the color background layer so that we make sure we're working with the correct layer. And in the toolbox, we're going to use a new tool called the Bucket Fill tool. This tool looks like a bucket of paint. Now in our foreground color button, we're going to choose a new color. I'm going to just choose a lighter blue. Choose whatever color you like. Once you have a new color, you'll go ahead and select OK. And with the Bucket Fill tool, we're going to click once in the image window, and it's going to fill the color background layer with our color that we chose. And there we go. So you can see here that we have added line to the line layer, color to the color layer and a color background. And if we hide our original image, we have our new image using the strategy of tracing, the technique of tracing. So once you have your line layer, make sure your line is on the line layer, your color layer, put the color on the color layer and your color background. You are done. So we'll want to save our work, traced photo, and you are halfway done with our project. Now remember, for every single assignment, if we open up the Unit 5 project, once you finish the first image, you're going to repeat what we just did on the polar bear, following those directions on a new image. So if I opened up the assignment, you'd see this assignment document right here, and you'd find those directions. I'm going to open this up so that we have what we need to save as. So make sure the image you created in Unit 5 meets the criteria and the grading rubric. What we just did with this polar bear meets the grading rubric, the criteria there. And we're now going to create another image. And we're going to name this second image Trace a Photo. So I'm not going to complete the second image with you. I'm going to get you started. So to complete your second image, you'll simply click File, Open. You'll choose another image from your Unit 5 folder. So let's say this time you want to do the jack-o'-lantern. You would then first save it as Trace a Photo, click Save, and you would follow the steps that we did on the polar bear to the jack-o'-lantern. Once you're completed with the jack-o'-lantern, you would save, and then you would come to the Dropbox here and upload both of those images from your Unit 5 folder, your traced photo and your Trace a Photo GIMP files. Once you've done that, you'll see both of them here. You'll go ahead and click Upload and then Submit. I'm not going to submit because I don't want to grade my own work, but once you have, you are done with the Unit 5 project. If you have any questions, come see me in a help time or sign up for a one-on-one. Good luck!